Good afternoon, distinguished speakers and guests. I'm Dr. Bishakha Ghose from Bangladesh. I'm working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Community Medicine of the BGC Trust Medical College, Chittagong, Bangladesh. I'm very glad to join here. I welcome you all to my presentation, Asbestos in Shipbreaking, a Deadly Reality in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a country of Southeast Asian region with a population of about 15 million, and shipbreaking started in Bangladesh as business in 1972 and flourished in 80s and 90s. It is an important economic sector in Bangladesh. It extracts about 1.2 million tons of scrap iron per year. Bangladesh has a comparative advantage in ship recycling over other countries because there is a flat seashore, and shipbreaking in Bangladesh is concentrated on 12-kilometer long beach on the Bay of Bengal in Chittagong, which is highly suitable for beaching of ships. And there is high tidal fluctuation, particularly twice a month, the full moon and the new moon cycles. There is high difference in water levels in dry season and monsoons. And in Bangladesh, there is abundant supply of cheap labor almost around the year. And there is moderate enforcement of laws and lower level of environmental awareness. But there is high demand of iron and steel in local market. Bangladesh has about 32 active shipbreaking yards located at Chittagong on the beach of the Bay of Bengal, and 32 shipbreaking yards employ around 20,000 workers directly, and it is believed that another 200,000 and or more people depend on the downstream trades related to the shipbreaking. Here, work is done under open sky with bare hands. 82% of the workers are between 25 to 39 years of age. None are female. 67% of the workers are migrated from poverty-stricken northern districts of Bangladesh. 25% of the workers live in cramped sheds close to the yards provided by the yard owners. Use of personal protective equipments among the workers is virtually non-existent. Only gas cutters use few personal protective equipments. Workers are paid no work, no pay basis at a rate between $1 to $3 per day. They are not assured of compensation for injury, disability or fatality. 75% of country's total steel consumption comes from ship recycling, but there is minimum government intervention in this sector. Only few government agencies are involved in a very limited manner with shipbreaking. Shipbreaking employs a big number of workers and pay a considerable amount of tax. But yet, in Bangladesh, shipbreaking is not recognized as an industry. Knowledge about asbestos among the workers. Most of the workers have below primary level education, and almost all the workers are functionally illiterate. Asbestos is popularly known as asbestos to the workers. As per ILO Baseline Survey 2005, only one of 17 shipbreaking yard managers could identify asbestos as hazardous material. Only 5% of yard worker supervisor and 2% of workers identified asbestos as hazardous material. Present scenario in Bangladesh. International Labour Organization trained around 6,000 workers, supervisors, foremen and managers during June 2006 to December 2007 on basic occupational safety and health. So it is obvious that at present many people are oriented with asbestos exposure and its consequences. But they surely feel themselves helpless as they don't get proper personal protective equipments and training to remove and dispose asbestos or asbestos-containing materials from old ships. Attitudes of the workers. Asbestos is commonly used to remove oily or greasy substance from hand during or after work among the workers. Workers show a reluctant attitude even when they hear about possible harmful effects of asbestos exposure, as they never heard anybody suffering from any diseases due to this. No study has carried out in Bangladesh shipbreaking sector to identify the impact and extent of asbestos exposure, and nobody is diagnosed as asbestos victim so far in the country. In a country where millions of people live below the poverty line and desperate to get a job to survive, hardly bother about diseases that may suffer after 15 to 20 years after exposure. People migrated from poverty-stricken areas feel themselves lucky that they have a job to make the living. Present practice in shipbreaking. On the scrap ship, asbestos removal and collection areas are never isolated by any means, so asbestos escapes into the surroundings area freely. Sometimes workers spray water on asbestos before removal. They do not use disposable coveralls. They stripe off asbestos manually using bare hands and without any personal protective equipments. They go to home with same clothing used during asbestos handling. Disposal of asbestos. In Bangladesh, in shipbreaking, nothing goes to waste. Everything is recycled or reused. International Labour Organization baseline survey revealed that asbestos recovered from old ships are rarely buried, but mostly sold to third party. And fate of sold asbestos. The buyer crushes the asbestos manually at some other facilities by some hired day laborers without providing any personal protective equipment to protect them or taking any precautions to avoid environmental exposure, and sold it to construction industry. Unfortunately, similar practices is in place even after ILO training program due to lack of shipbreaking yard owners initiatives and government intervention. Who get exposed? Workers involved in asbestos removal from ships with bare hands in open yards, and this is sold. Worker engaged in manual crushing of asbestos for resale and reuse. Fiber spread through yard, other people working in the shipbreaking yard, workers go home with same clothing, family, household members, and sold to construction industry, worker engaged in construction works. Initiatives taken so far prevent workers. ILO safe and environment-friendly recycling project included a module on asbestos in its occupational safety health training program for shipbreakers, which focused on identification and isolation of asbestos and asbestos-containing materials in the ship, ways of exposure and prevention, safe ways of collection and personal protective equipments required, safe disposal method, possible health hazards. There is no trade union in ship recycling sector. Only a local NGO, Occupational Safety Health and Environment Foundation, is working with FNV, the Netherlands fund, to organize trade union leaders of other industries in the area to help shipbreaking workers to be organized and to make them aware against the hazards of shipbreaking, especially asbestos. Bangladesh Environmental Lawyers Association and a local NGO, young power in social action worked together to convince government to send back the iconic cruise liner SS Norway that contained 1,250 tons of asbestos on board. DNV survey confirmed presence of asbestos in the air samples from different shipbreaking yards in Bangladesh in 2001. Recommendations: ban import of contaminated old ships under international scrutiny. Compliance with control of transboundary movement of hazardous waste convention of United Nations Environment Programme. Implementation of international maritime guidelines of shipbreaking. Introduction of polluter pays principle. Establish waste reception facility with trained team for asbestos removal. Health education for workers. Asbestos awareness campaign at field level. Provision of proper personal equipments. Diagnosis, treatment, rehabilitation and compensation for affected workers. Introduction of safety first culture. Declare shipbreaking as a formal industry. Carry out studies in Bangladesh to identify the impact and extent of asbestos exposure shipbreaking sector. More government intervention and implementation of labor law and shipbreaking policy. Asbestos in shipbreaking, a deadly reality in Bangladesh. Let's say no to asbestos, yes to shipbreaking, and walk safely. Thank you.